you sit, if you sit there, and then we can look at the screen. What up, guys? What up, Anthony Diaz? Today I'm joined here with Shirzad, who is a bookseller who's sold, I say 15 million, but I didn't ask you. How much have you sold? How much did you sell last
Why
night?
is this not going to the... Okay.
Yeah, so I guess the goal is to see the comments up there. We can see the comments here too, but regardless, it'll be cool.
Can you see the comments?
Go. What am I thinking of doing? Go back real quick.
It's too delayed, so I don't think it's gonna work.
Oh,
I don't think it's a good idea.
it'll work because we can pull it up like that. There we go. That's what I'm thinking of. And now we can have the boom. Anyway, 15 million is my number in my head. But what are you at right now? Last year, 2020.
2024, we didn't finish the actual numbers, but should be about 15 million. 2025, we're projecting probably about 20 million.
Yeah, and you started in 2019.
February 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You're friends with David, Vishal. I brought them on the channel. Vishal's spoken at Miami Sellers Conference. You're speaking at Miami Sellers Conference. That's an announcement right there. So, yeah, walk us through like how you got started, why you got started, and then I know we're gonna be shooting some more videos. So if you guys are watching this or the replay, be on the lookout. We're gonna be dropping at least one good video soon about his whole journey. But right now, you guys have access to him live. But if you want to kind of walk people through how you got started and why you got started with books.
We started in 2019. It was me and my business partner. We used to be housemate in college.
Mm-hmm.
Then I moved to, he went to study in LA, California. I moved to New York to start working. He came to visit me for a Thanksgiving. So it was Thanksgiving 2018. And he just told me about this Amazon world and people selling books.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, wow, this sounds interesting. Then he told me, yeah, you should look into like these donation centers and stuff. So then I just drove by and I called a Salvation Army store, which was nearby, Newark, because I'm in Jersey. Actually, no, it was Jersey City. And I asked them for a contact. They gave me a contact of someone that was selling loads. And I just called and we bought a truck, with 8 Gators, something like that. And we rented a U-Haul, and then we put in a storage space. We started like scanning that from inside the Gaylord.
Wait, so you didn't even like do cherry picking at all?
No.
Okay.
No. We just went straight and asked for like buying Gaylords, and we didn't have any plug. We just did it as
and why was it on his radar? He was seeing people like on YouTube or like Instagram, or
this was referred to him from another friend. His name was Lorenzo, and he used to do the same in California many years ago. Okay. And then he got out of the business in 2019, something like that.
That's funny because I know Lorenzo in California.
Yeah, probably not the same.
Yeah, the one I was telling you about.
Yeah, and then nothing. I mean, like we just started. At the time in 2019, the margins were much higher than now, and we were using ScoutIQ. And I remember we used to check, scan the books. We were just doing FBA or reject. Mm-hmm. So we were scanning the book and we were writing on a piece of paper, how much profit we were making out of the Gator. And then the returns were insane. Obviously, they're not correct.
Yeah.
But the returns were insane. Yeah. We were like, wow, this is going to make more money than anything else. Yeah. And so we just kept like putting leverage on credit cards and just buying always more material. And then we got the first employee after 2 months. And we kept going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With credit cards, you were mainly buying inventory, or what was like the main expense?
So with the credit cards, it's actually pretty funny what we were doing, which I don't even know if it's legal. We couldn't buy inventory with credit card because you have to pay with ACH. Mm-hmm. So what we were doing was I was sending, I was connected the credit card to my Venmo account.
Yeah.
And then I was sending money to my business partner, 1,000 at a time, so that we could take money from the credit card and use those money to buy, inventory.
Yeah.
So we were able to pull like $20,000 until they found out,
Mm-hmm.
and then they blocked the card.
Yeah.
And like I couldn't use the card anymore. It was still an open balance, so I had to pay back. So my credit went to shit.
Yeah.
The $20,000, like it helped, to just start.
Yeah. Good morning, fam. Says Goon Soldier. What's good? Yeah, whatever questions you guys have, ask below. The purpose of this live is to get you guys your questions answered. So go ahead and ask those. I'm sure people are curious. Like, I remember back in 2019 when I was like, because I started technically like 2015, 2016, like with textbooks.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to Turn the Page events. Caleb Roth used to throw those. And I remember in 2019, people were complaining about how much worse it was selling books in 2019 compared to 2015. It's so much harder now. Like every 5 years, people say it's gotten like way worse.
Yeah.
But people are still making money doing this, and people are still growing their businesses. So obviously, something's working. But like, were you profitable on that first round of books?
Yeah. So I think the reason why we were able to get into the to break the barrier and get into this book industry was because in 2019 a lot of people went out of business, and so obviously also in our area. So there was a little more supply. The reason was because FBA in 2019 it was when the FBA it was in 2021 recently. But in 2019 FBA just increased their fees by a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think a lot of people went out of business, or like a lot of these donation centers has extra loads, and then also recycling was negative. So people were used to get paid like maybe over $100 a ton in this area, and then they went from there to like -20, and so basically it destroys your margins.
Yeah.
So the recycling was actually, we had a huge problem moving recycling, even though we were just doing maybe a load every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Not even maybe.
And by recycling,
a week.
Some people don't know what that means. Recycling, you mean like your dud books, a company's coming and picking them up, a recycler,
yes,
and they're paying you for the books.
Yeah, I mean at the time we were paying like $20 a ton or something.
So you were paying them.
I was paying, yes.
Yeah.
And I was even like and you were lucky even if they were picking it up. This was the situation in 2019.
Yeah.
And but it was still profitable. The only reason is probably our rent was a few $100s. We had 2-3 employees. We were not paying insurance or like workers' compensation or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have a structure. We didn't have overheads. We didn't have an office. We did not have our own trucks. Now we have our own box trucks. So by not having the many overheads, of course, it's profitable because the book, let's say you sell it on FBA, and you sell it for $10, and at the time it was 39% net on every book you were selling. So out of the $10, $4 or $5 comes in your pocket, and then maybe cost you, you just have cost of inventory and a couple of employees, so you barely don't have any overheads. But by the time you grow, things change a lot, and especially like also margins in the last year or two have changed a lot in this industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was just thinking about what you said about David and how I interviewed David on my channel a few years ago. You guys can go check that video out where I'm in his warehouse. And I think David's like not really given that many tips as like he could have been like really open about it, But I feel like that actually has like the inverse effect that the person wants to have. I feel like people that watch the video are then like, oh shit, like he's making a lot of money.
I think it really depends I think there is like if we're here to tell people, we're not here to tell people what to do, but we can probably advise people. So I think the first question, maybe like someone that wants to get into the book industry or is like now doing, you just got into the book industry. I think the first question I would ask is, what's your end goal? Like how much money you want to make in your life? Like how old are you now? Are you 14, 13, 18, 19? And what's your goal? What's your vision in 5 or 10 years from now? If your vision is to become anywhere close to a multi-millionaire, you're probably in the wrong industry. It's also the wrong time to get into this industry. If your goal is to just pay your bills, maybe pay your rent, so pay your bills, being able to go out for dinner sometimes in your life, then I think you can get there with this business.
Yeah, or just like get your whole family together. Like I know there's a lot of immigrants that are like killing it in the business, like in the Turkish community. Like if you guys would just rather like scan books all day.
Yeah, I mean, I think yeah, but to scale it the way we did, and try to get to a $15-20 million business in the next 5 years, the way we did 6 years. The timing is different. So the same way was tough for me, because instead of starting in 2019, if I would have started in 2015, probably now it would be, a much bigger company. And obviously for who's getting in now, it's going to be even harder. So the timing I think is not the best. And second is, if I, for the amount of work and amount of responsibility that I had to put into this business, probably if I put it into something else, it would have been much better, to be honest. Like,
I think grass is always greener.
I mean, we have a company that it's we have 3 shifts. We're open 24 hours. We have 56 employees. We have a cash flow which is millions of dollars a month. That is, you have a lot of employees, a lot of responsibility. You have trucks on the road. It's a lot of transportations and logistics behind this business. Inventory. You have a bad month is a massive cash flow because it's a low margin business. So it's if you put into something else, I mean, you can make a lot more money, even by selling any other product on Amazon. Probably, you could make a lot more money with a less.
Yeah, I think there's pros and cons, because you have like online arbitrage, and like I said, the grass is always greener. Like shout out to Stefan Does Business. He'll be speaking in Miami too. He did 1.7 million in 1 month, all online arbitrage.
That's great.
But the difference between your business and his business, in my opinion, is like, yeah, he probably made 20% net, so he fucking crushed it. But that brand could be pulled from him. That deal he's getting from the website could be gone. Maybe he's using gift cards, and it'll be gone overnight. So it's more of like in my opinion, online arbitrage doesn't have like the sustainability that Books does. Whereas like, at least with Books, you're going to get these Gaylords every week. You're getting these truckloads in. Maybe you have a bunch of overhead, whatever, but it's consistent. Shipments are being pushed out the door. So I think the consistency with Books is kind of what's attractive to it. And don't get me wrong, like with wholesale too, there's that consistency. Like Thousand Asins, I was telling you about him earlier. 17 million a year. He'll also be in Miami. Shout out MiamiSellersConference.com. And he has very consistent sales, consistent sources, all that. So I think the consistency there, but I'm sure if you talk to him like behind the scenes, like he's selling courses now. And I'm sure like in his head, like course money is like the best money for him. He's like, oh, I have my Amazon business. It's making me like millions a year, but it fucking sucks because at the end of the year, I made 2 million, but I spent 1.7 extra. So I really only had like 300 cash flow or something like that. And then he's like, well, now I just need to sell a shit ton of courses because I see Flips for Miles, who's also going to be at Miami Sellers Conference, making fucking whatever, selling courses. So then like the grass is always greener. You got to kind of pick your poison. I guess from like your perspective, there's somebody watching this, just like you watched me a few years ago, interview David. There's somebody behind the camera right now watching this that maybe they're an immigrant, maybe they're a drug addict, maybe like whatever. Like who do you think this business is good for? And maybe there's somebody else who's like really driven and like that, like I want to fucking work 12 hours a day and they want to become a multimillionaire in 3 years. Maybe this business isn't for them. Like what kind of person do you think should enter the business? And then we can talk about what they should do when they enter it.
I think this is a perfect business for people that want to do it as a part-time. That maybe they already have, maybe a full-time job or another part-time job. And then maybe they just get a storage space, buy a few Gaylords or cherry picking, and just reselling. I think they can easily get to, $20,000 a month in sales, and they're probably bring home like 2,000-3,000. That's a lot of money, extra.
Yeah.
So I think this is the best for this, for people that want to try to get into this business, and would focus. If I were them, I would focus on FBA. So buy affiliate or just do FBA, because once you start doing merchant fulfill, then it becomes a completely different type of operations. And by these changes of rates that has happened and that are going to happen in the future, most likely they will not be able to be as competitive as the big companies. So I think the focus should be FBA. It's like a lot less labor.
Yeah. We got, at his level, how many hours a week does he work?
That was a question?
Yeah.
Oh.
He doesn't work at all, guys.
Well, like I think once you get to these situations, like in this size, you're not really working. Like meaning you have overheads, you have people in your office, so you have assistant office managers. We have 5 warehouse managers, so you kind of delegate everything. But the truth is that your brain is always working, even before you go sleep, even when you wake up, or even when you're taking a shower, because it's a lot of moving parts. And you can even have a call at 3 a.m. which happened while you're sleeping on a Friday night, because maybe the conveyor is breaking, or maybe there is a leak in the warehouse. The other day one of the heater broke. So you're not working like the typical work that everybody else does, but you're always working with your brain, basically.
Yeah.
And then obviously once you get to this point, you're always thinking, okay, what should be my next investment so that I can increase my worth, and like we were talking yesterday.
Yeah. Who inspires you the most, like in the book selling space? You don't have to like say their name if you don't want to. And then I guess like in general in entrepreneurship, who inspires you the most?
Well, in the book industry, there is not really someone that I say like I really like I'm inspired. I mean, I think there is just one very successful story in the book industry, which is the acquisition of Sellbacker Book, and there was a very I think this was probably the most successful story that we had in the industry. So like for sure, like I admire that. There was the founder Glenn of Sellbacker Book. Anyways, he started a lot earlier. Which doesn't mean that this is easy. Absolutely, what he did, it's incredible. So I think it's amazing what he was able to build. But I think that's a successful story. But if I have to inspire like our business to even a Thrift Books or a World of Books or anybody, I don't think like we're trying to go after any of these companies. I think what we're trying to do is the best way. Once you get to this size, the best way to become a very big company in any industry is try to differentiate. So we're not inspiring on what this Thrift Books is doing. I mean, and we're trying to, obviously we cannot say it here, but we have some projects, some programs that are things that are very visionary in the industry, like no one has done before. So we're not inspiring ourselves on these companies. We're actually trying to find innovative ideas to go against them and probably even get better than them. So that's the goal, basically. Yeah,
it's an interesting industry. How much does it freak you out that Amazon can like shut you down at any second?
Well, that's I mean, this is one of the biggest problems of this industry. I mean, there is nothing proprietary. Like you're not selling your own product, and you're not like selling, let's say, or drop shipping a product where you have a supplier, who knows, maybe in China or Mexico. You just get the product and then you resell on platforms. And then in the case, your only problem would be, you're sourcing your product. So you can just change the supplier. I think in this industry, the interesting part that the problem is not the supply. The biggest problem is the way you sell your supply. I mean, we had situations like the restock limits, for example. or in 2020 when Amazon decided to just shut down FBA because their warehouses were too full.
Yeah.
I mean, situations like these are scary for sure.
You
Like,
fucking survived that shit.
yeah, I mean, and then 988, this wipes out.
That year was
80%.
definitely harder for you than it was for me because I only had textbooks. I was doing restricted inventory, and it was actually kind of good for me because people wanted to send me more textbooks. And I remember talking with you when I was in Costa Rica, and I ended up buying a bunch of pallets from you because you didn't have space to send them to Amazon. And then they ended up being shit pallets, and then you sent me textbooks to make up for it. But that's a different story. The year after that was hard for me, though. I feel like that year, maybe you can speak on this, but I feel like that was the year maybe that tested you the most. Do you feel like, or
the worst year for the business?
Yeah, I feel like that was the hardest year for bulk sellers. Like when restock limits hit, I feel like that kind of like, and then
I think when restock limits hit at the beginning, we were all very happy because from shutting down FBA, they shut down FBA you give me a second. I can remember the exact dates.
was it 2020?
They shut down FBA. The first like bad hit was on April 2021.
Mm-hmm.
It's when like the warehouses were like full, and they were like, okay, we're not taking FBA anymore, especially from booksellers.
Yeah.
So they were just taking like very fast moving products.
Yeah.
So from April all the way until January 2022, like they were like, okay, no FBA anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Then in January 22, we said, okay, I think this is too harsh. I think we have to find a new system. And they placed the restock limits, and it was great. Like actually 2022 was one of our best years because we had such a good control of inventory. Like we knew how much space we had, we knew how the restock limit worked, and we were just, we were controlling properly like what to send and what not to.
Mm-hmm.
So you could balance it, based on your limits. But then, Amazon, I mean, they fuck it up. I mean, they do whatever the fuck they want. And then I remember on September 1st, 2022, we had plenty of space in restock limits. And then one morning we wake up and they list a book and it goes red. Like, wait, what's going on? So they decided just to slash the restock limits to everybody. And that's what brought a lot of people out of business. It was September 4th. And then in January they reopened, but I think FBA just has changed so much. Like they made so many changes in the last 2 years. Before it was so much easier.
Yeah.
Also liquidation and like removals are like 4 or 5 times more expensive. So you have to be very careful about what you're saying.
Yeah. I wish we had like a metric of like the number of booksellers and like you said, like how many dropped off over the years or entered the business, because there's people like you, there's people like Vishal, David's been in it for 15 plus years. And then a lot of people have left. Like I've been at Turn the Page events and those were like fucking 5 years ago. That's crazy. And like a lot of those people at the conferences like aren't there anymore. And these people were kind of doing like bulk books, like maybe like a small warehouse. Like there was one guy, the guy I shot the YouTube video with years ago, 250 views, and then fucking Ben Carrick, piece of shit, commented on my channel and said, "You got no views." Fast forward a few years, it got 20,000 views. But the point of that is, I went to his warehouse and I recorded the whole thing, and then he went out of business 2 years later. So like, a lot of people in this industry come and go, and I feel like a lot of it comes down to how good of books do you have, how good are you at sourcing, how creative are you, because like at the end of the day, they're fucking books still. Like it's the same shit, like just, and like,
I think
there's always fee increases.
It's a very low margin business, so there is no room for mistakes. There is no room for lack of production. There is no room of it's not a business where you say, oh yeah, I'm making 20% a year, so who gives a shit? Like even if I have X expenses this year, I still bring home 10%. Like this doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't work like this, unfortunately, on this industry. So
yeah, it's just like it's always interesting for me. Like people are given like the same circumstances but different, like completely different outcomes. Like even with social media or software.
I guess you can answer this question. Section 3 is the.
Yeah, that's definitely a me question.
There is a course now for this. That's true.
For section 3?
Section 3 is what is it for? What is this? Which one is
Section 3 is like when they verify your identity as a seller and the authenticity of your products. So it's mainly new accounts. Shane, I'd be willing to bet that your account's pretty new. Message me. I don't know if you've DM'd me. It's really dependent on your case. So shoot me a DM. I mean, definitely show up to the video call, bring everything they have. Like, that's a general advice. Like, they ask for, where'd you buy your inventory? Have all that. Rake and Profit in the house. What's good, guys? What up? Where's the first place I should look to buy Gaylords? That's a good question for you. And then Steve says, what's your goal in business over the next couple of years? So we'll start with this. Best place to find Gaylords. For people, you put the disclaimer out there. You said selling books on Amazon sucks. Don't do it. Stay away. But for people that want to get into it,
where's the first place? Donation centers. But I think, like, before going to buy Gaylords, we went straight to Gaylords, but I don't think it was a good idea. I think that, what I've seen, the people do cherry picking. I think it's better to go to these, Salvation Army stores or Goodwill stores and like understand before, like scanning the books there and understanding the profits and everything. Because you don't want to hold that much inventory there sitting and not having enough money. So I would just go through the process there, even if it takes a couple of months. I would just go and buy some books, understand how to sell them on Amazon, because you might, if you buy a full Gaylord, even just if it's just a Gaylord, and you're planning to put on sale like, 200 books, you might mess it up. And now Amazon is so strict. And if you make a mistake, right? Like even with textbooks now, it's better to start slow and then slowly increasing your inventory on Amazon. You don't want to go directly with 200 books. They for sure are gonna like verify you, ask you invoices. I would start with like 5 books. Then they sell maybe 2, 3, 10, then 20. But if you want to source Gaylords, I mean, it's donation centers, thrift stores, anything that is close to your area, I guess.
And are you calling those places out, like asking them for bulk books, or how are you starting that conversation?
Yeah, you just you try to go there and ask, who's the warehouse manager, and then you ask the warehouse, how much they're willing to sell the books for.
What's your goal in business over the next couple of years? Where do you want to take things? You need to meet Steve. He's one of my best friends. Live with him in Miami. You'll meet him.
That's a great question. I think that's a great question. So the goal, like we're pivoting a little bit, like the business model in the book business. So we have a couple projects we're working on that are very innovative on the way we sell books. So the goal is in the next 2 years to see whether that works and it's successful. If it is, then we will eventually expand in other areas in the country. This is with the book business, and then with everything else, I mean, as an entrepreneur, you're always looking for the next big opportunity. So I guess it didn't come yet, but if something else come up, I'm always open to take a new journey.
How caffeinated are you on a scale 1 to 10 currently?
How many you had? He had
3,
2,
4?
No, you had
3.
one black, one.
He's keeping track.
One cappuccino and 3 espresso.
I got 1 latte, and this is my 3rd.
Yeah, 1 latte, 3 espresso.
Yeah, I should probably get another one. How has the API? Yeah, this is a great question. How has the API update changed his productivity while listed?
A lot. Actually, it's our number one problem. Since the past 2 weeks, probably our listing went down of about 50%. So
it's because he's not using GoToLister.
I mean, I think it's even worse with GoToLister. Our productivity went down about 50%. It's a massive problem because obviously, like, you see payouts based on your sales from 2 weeks before. So like we're not really affected in the current moment, but I know we're gonna be in a very big trouble in 2 weeks because our payouts are gonna be much lower because we're listing a lot less FBA. Good thing is that we do a lot of MF, more MF than FBA. But yeah, I mean, I guess everybody's affected.
Yep. We're all in this together.
Other questions?
Yeah. What up? He says, I'm just getting started. Whatever questions you guys have, comment them below. Yeah, speaking of listing, obviously the go-to lister community, we're dealing with these changes together. We just released Force Send, which basically allows you to list. I recommend list one box at a time. So list one box of books, click on send. And what we're going to do is try and submit those listings for 45 minutes. It's going to take about an hour for them to go through. Then whatever products don't go through, we automatically pull those, push your shipment through so you can get your shipment out the door. You pull those bad books, add them to the next batch. But even you were telling me about this, like 30% of your products are not being listed. And this is like common across the industry for all products, but books are especially difficult because with books, you're creating a new listing for like literally every single, it's not like you have like one product with like 100 units or 1,000. Like you have one product, one unit, one product, one unit, like thousands of those.
Yeah.
So you have to create new listings for literally thousands of products. So the tough part is getting them created in time. And oftentimes it takes like up to 24 hours to push through. And it doesn't matter, even if you do them on Seller Central, like people are realizing on Seller Central, they're having issues too. So it's via the API and it's via Seller Central. So at GoToLister, we just decided to help you guys get the shipments out the door by force sending your shipment, pulling the bad items, sending the box, and re-adding those trouble items to the next batch. We got Junkman in here saying, what are the charges? Did you read him his Miranda rights yet? Yeah, it does look like an interrogation room.
What?
It looks like an interrogation room, like I'm interrogating you. How many employees do you have? What's your model? Sorry if I'm a little late to the show.
Employees, somewhere between 56 and 60. Obviously sometimes we fire people, sometimes, but yeah, we are like in around 60 employees. What was the other question?
What's your model?
But our model right now, it's very standard. So we have, we sell, we do about 80% maybe EMF, 20% FBA. But we the way we've been differentiating a bit in the last year or two, because again, for the question they asked Avery about Amazon, is we do a lot of wholesale. So we sell to, other buyback programs, and we also sell to some companies out of the country. But it's pretty much so far our model is very standard. It's like what everybody else does in a small scale, but we just do it on a bigger scale, basically.
Mm-hmm. Who do you think, or like what type of person in the industry do you feel like is like, what kind of personality does best with book selling, like at scale?
Hard work. I mean, this is a very hard working job. Like this is someone that wants to put the head down and doesn't care. He's okay to wake up at 5 a.m. and he gets it done.
Yeah, you probably need like leadership skills too, like to be good with people.
I mean, I think to grow it, up to a certain level, I think as long as you're a hard worker, someone that he can get his hands dirty, he doesn't get tired easily, he's not lazy, he can get it done. Then when you get to a higher level, I mean, definitely you need to have some leadership skills. I mean, it's usually, this is also the funny thing about the book business. Usually a company that has 6 employees is probably a company that is extremely successful. While in the book business, you have 6 employees and, it's still like, we're still a bookseller.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it definitely requires, leadership skills, because it's not easy to deal with 60 people every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely. I think some people kind of underestimate like what it would take to be like in your position. I think for you it kind of comes naturally to manage a lot of people, but like some of these kids I know, like they're putting big numbers on Amazon, but I'm like, I don't think they could like manage anyone like the way. Like I think they're successful because they're good at finding profitable products. They can use a prep center, and that's it. But if it came to them like managing like a team, I think that's a whole nother set of skills.
I mean, it's very easy. Like let's say you have 20 business days in a month.
Mm-hmm.
If just one day you're down, it's 5% of what you know of your production.
Yeah.
So let's say if your margins are like 5 to 10%, whatever it is, if you have 2 days down out of a month,
Mm-hmm.
just because things are not going the way you want, or if your production goes down 5% a month,
Yeah.
you're not making money.
Yeah.
So, and then yeah, it's not. I think what's not for everybody, it just like there is an amount of responsibility that I have right now, which I would have never thought I was able to deal with, in 2019 when I was like 24 years old. But then you just get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at one point you realize, okay, every day there is some shit going on. So you're like, okay, either I accept that, if I want to make money, my life has to be like this.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you can just chill down, like, not have maybe, expensive stuff that I like, and just have a regular average lifestyle. But if you want to have a good life, you want to buy, the stuff that you really enjoy,
Yeah.
like an expensive car, expensive clothes, living, in the middle of Manhattan, I accept it. I'm like, okay, it's a trade-off.
Yeah.
I want to have this lavish lifestyle, but at the same time, I gotta accept that it's a fucking headache.
Yeah.
Like you always have headache, whether when you wake up, when you go to sleep, you're never relaxed. You're never relaxed. Basically.
Speaking of that, like, is your end goal acquisition in the book business?
Yes, but yeah, absolutely. We're trying to differentiate again, as I said before, we look, in other ideas, so that it doesn't necessarily have to be someone in the book business that want to acquire us, but maybe someone that is more interested to a direct to consumer product. So, but yeah, I mean that's the goal. That's the goal, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm about to go to China, learn how to make some products. I already know how to make products, but I feel like there's like levels to Amazon. There's reselling, there's books, there's wholesale, there's online arbitrage. But I feel like everyone's dream, like we talked about this last summer, is like private label, like being able to have your own product manufactured with your brand on it. And with all these Section 3s and shit going on, like, wouldn't it be amazing to be the brand, like to own it? So we're inviting some private label speakers at Miami this year, because I think a lot of the industry is kind of thinking that way too. Like,
I mean, private label is a guarantee. If successful, is a little bit more of a guaranteed success, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it's what can probably bring you more peace of mind as an entrepreneur if you're a reseller on Amazon, because with BOOKSELLERS, I mean, it's just very heavy operations, very heavy logistics. It's too much pieces moving. Wholesale, I mean, you just said that, like, you might sell a product, then they might sue you, they might restrict you on the product. You might just not find a deal anymore with the supplier. And you're fucked. But if you're a private label, I think it might take a little longer to get the product going. But once it goes, it's guaranteed until there is a market for that specific product, and it's really guaranteed, and it's scaling, on a daily basis.
Yeah, the grass is always greener. Like, I'm sure.
So if I have to recommend, it probably would be, I think it's private label.
Yeah, but I'm starting private label, and like there are issues like patent complaints. Other sellers, the Chinese selling the same product that they're manufacturing you. Like, every industry has its shit that you have to go through. Like I think the grass is always greener on the other side. Yeah. We got Benjamin Miller saying, what impacts do you see with the political landscape affecting private label overseas? I don't know. I think it's like a big tariff they're talking about, so it'll probably increase. But in my opinion, like, shit is so cheap in China that it's still going to be cheaper to get it in China than here.
Just prices will adapt with the new pricing, so nothing will actually change. Just things might be a little more expensive.
Yeah, it's just like Amazon FBA fees. All right, guys, we're gonna shoot some more videos. If you guys want to see Shirzad in person, go to MiamiSellersConference.com, get your tickets. He'll be there speaking about something, probably used books, but look forward to seeing you guys in person. Got any last words for him, Shirzad?
No, that's it. Any other question?
That's it. We're going to end it. Boom. Much love. Peace out, guys.